The Quantum Collision of Sigma-9 – A Tale of Spacetime Empires. Chapter 1 – Discovery. The USS Prospero floated through the vast emptiness of space, silently traversing the void. Leading the Earth's space exploration program, the ship was on a mission to discover new planets and determine if they were suitable for human habitation. As the ship's advanced scanners roamed the stars, they picked up a mysterious signal emanating from a planet in the distance. Captain James Williams rubbed his bleary eyes and glanced at his crew. They were all drifting in and out of sleep, trying to recharge their batteries before the next shift. But the signal had piqued his curiosity, and he couldn't resist investigating it further. "Ensign Carter, let's go check out that signal," he ordered. Carter nodded, tapping furiously at his keyboard to plot the course to the planet. As they descended upon the planet, Williams couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. The planet was barren, with no signs of life on the surface. But the signal was growing stronger, leading them to an underground cavern. They landed the Prospero and gathered their gear, trudging through the darkened cave. The deeper they went, the more their scanners flickered and faded. Suddenly, they heard a low humming noise, increasing in intensity as they approached a large cavern. The cavern was filled with a strange, pulsing energy. Williams led the way with his gun drawn, his heart pounding in his chest. They moved closer to the energy, and suddenly, it erupted into a blinding flash. The crew was thrown off their feet, and when they opened their eyes again, they found themselves in the middle of a bustling city on a foreign planet. Williams gazed around in shock, trying to take in the stunning sights. The city was enormous, full of towering spires and flashing lights. But they were quickly surrounded by a group of armored figures, weapons drawn. "Who are you?" growled one of the figures, his weapon trained on Williams. "We come in peace," Williams managed to say, trying to keep calm despite his racing heart. The figures eyed them suspiciously, then lowered their weapons. One of them stepped forward, her face hidden behind her helmet. "Follow me," she commanded, gesturing for the crew to follow her. They were led through the city, dodging bustling crowds and navigating twisting alleys. Finally, they were brought before a towering figure, seated on a throne made of shimmering metal. "What is your purpose here?" the figure intoned, his voice resonating through the room. "We stumbled upon your planet by accident," Williams explained, feeling like a small speck in the presence of the alien ruler. The figure surveyed them for a long moment, then spoke. "I will allow you to stay, for now. But beware, there are forces here that may not take kindly to your presence." And with that, the crew was left standing in the presence of the alien ruler, still reeling from the incredible discovery they had just made. Chapter 2 – Pursuit. The crew of the USS Prospero was dumbfounded, standing in stunned silence as they took in the alien ruler's words. They had just stumbled upon a whole new civilization, and they weren't entirely sure what to expect. As they made their way back through the city, they couldn't shake the feeling of unease. They were being watched. They could feel eyes following their every move. They knew they had to be cautious, but they couldn't resist exploring this new and wondrous world. But as they walked, they noticed an increasing number of armored figures stalking them. They seemed to be closing in, hemming them in from all sides. Williams signaled to his crew, and they all drew their weapons, ready for a fight. Just then, a group of figures appeared from a nearby alleyway, weapons drawn. The two groups began to circle each other, the air heavy with tension. Suddenly, a piercing scream split the air. The crew whirled to see one of the armored figures, her helmet shattered, her face twisted in agony. They watched in horror as she crumpled to the ground, surrounded by a pool of blood. And then the fighting started. It was a chaotic, furious battle, with blasters firing and blades flashing in the dim light. The crew fought ferociously, but they were outnumbered and outmatched. Just as they thought all was lost, a group of figures appeared out of nowhere, riding on what looked like winged creatures. They swooped down into the fray, taking the attackers by surprise. The crew scrambled to their feet, joining the fight with renewed vigor. The winged warriors were fearsome opponents. They moved with incredible speed and agility, their blades slicing through their enemies like a hot knife through butter. The attackers were quickly routed, fleeing down the alleyways and taking refuge in the shadows. As the fighting came to a close, the team was left panting and exhausted, their weapons smoking in their hands. The winged warriors approached them, regarding them with deep interest. "We owe you a debt of gratitude," said one of the warriors, her face half hidden behind a mask. "But be warned, you have made dangerous enemies in coming here. You must leave before they catch up to you." The crew realized they had overstayed their welcome. They hastily departed the city, but they could feel eyes watching them as they went. They knew they were being pursued, and they had to stay ahead of their enemies if they wanted to survive. Chapter 3: Betrayal. The USS Prospero was hurtling through space, the crew tense and watchful. They had narrowly escaped their pursuers on the alien planet, but they knew they couldn't let the guard down. They had no idea where their enemies were or what they were capable of. As they traveled through the void, they began to sense that something was amiss. The crew was on edge, jumping at every noise and shadow. It wasn't long before their suspicions were confirmed. The betrayal came swiftly and without warning. One of the crew members suddenly turned on them, pulling out a blaster and firing at close range. Williams had no time to react, and the shot hit him square in the chest. He felt a searing pain, followed by cold numbness as he slumped to the ground. The last thing he saw before everything went dark was the traitor, grinning triumphantly. When he came to, he was lying in a makeshift infirmary, surrounded by his crew. They explained what had happened while he was unconscious. It turned out that the traitor had been working for the same group that had pursued them on the alien planet. They had been caught off guard by the betrayal, but they weren't about to let the traitor get away with it. They kept their eyes peeled for any signs of her, but they found nothing. It was as if she had disappeared into thin air. As the crew tried to regroup, they discovered that they had also been compromised in other ways. Some of their equipment had been sabotaged, leaving them vulnerable and exposed. They knew they had to act fast if they wanted to survive. In a desperate move, they decided to make contact with the winged warriors they had met on the alien planet. They hoped that these new allies could help them fight off their enemies and keep them safe. But the winged warriors were wary. They were hesitant to become involved in what they saw as a human conflict. And with the traitor still at large, they couldn't be sure if the humans were trustworthy allies. The crew had to prove themselves. They had to show the winged warriors that they were honorable and brave, and that they were willing to fight to protect their new friends. It was a daunting task, but they knew it was their only hope. As they prepared for battle, the crew couldn't shake the fear that they might lose everything they had fought so hard for. But they steeled themselves for the coming fight, knowing that they had to fight for their lives and their newfound allies. They had to protect each other, no matter what the cost. Chapter 4: Infiltration. The crew of the USS Prospero sat in tense silence, waiting for the signal to infiltrate the enemy's base. They had made contact with the winged warriors and had convinced them to help them in their fight against their enemies. The next step was to launch an attack on the enemy's stronghold. They had planned the infiltration with precision. They knew that their enemies would be expecting an attack from the outside, so they had to get in undetected. They had identified a weak point in the enemy's defenses, a small ventilation shaft that led into the heart of the stronghold. It was a risky move, but they had no choice. They knew what was at stake, and they were willing to risk everything to succeed. The crew donned their stealth gear and made their way to the ventilation shaft. They managed to slip inside undetected, using their advanced technology to evade the enemy's sensors. They crept along darkened corridors, the air thick with tension. They passed by groups of enemy soldiers, but they managed to avoid detection through a combination of stealth and technology. They knew that one mistake could mean the end of their mission, and perhaps the end of their lives. Finally, they reached the heart of the stronghold. The crew split up into small teams, each one tasked with a different mission. They knew that they had to work together if they wanted to succeed. Williams led one team on a mission to disable the enemy's weapons systems. They crept along narrow catwalks and through dimly lit maintenance tunnels. They encountered enemy patrols, but they managed to take them out silently and without raising the alarm. They reached the weapons control room and set to work disabling the systems. But just as they were finishing up, they heard the alarm sound. They had been discovered. The crew had no choice but to improvise. They knew they had to destroy the weapons systems before the enemy could use them against them. They set explosive charges and made a mad dash for the exit, hoping that they could make it out in time. As they ran, they could hear the enemy in hot pursuit. They could feel their breath on their necks, their footsteps echoing in the cramped corridors. They reached the exit just in time as the explosion rocked the stronghold, obliterating the weapons systems and sealing the crew's success. They made their way back to the ventilation shaft, exhausted but victorious. They knew that they had accomplished something incredible, but they also knew that their fight was far from over. They had to keep moving, keep fighting, to ensure that their enemies were vanquished once and for all. Chapter 5. The Portal. The crew of the USS Prospero had achieved a major victory, but they knew that their mission was far from over. They still had to find a way to defeat their enemies for good and ensure that they would never pose a threat again. They knew that their best chance lay in finding the source of their enemy's power. They had tracked the energy signatures to a remote planet on the edge of known space. It was a dangerous and inhospitable world, but they were determined to go there and put an end to their enemies once and for all. But as they approached the planet, they discovered something unexpected. There was a massive structure, unlike anything they had ever seen before. It was a portal, a gateway into unknown realms of space and time. The crew was intrigued but wary. They knew that this portal could be the key to their enemy's power, but they also knew that it could be a trap. They had to proceed with caution. They made their way inside the portal, creeping through darkened corridors and narrow passageways. They encountered strange and alien creatures, but they managed to fend them off with their weapons and their wits. As they explored deeper into the portal, they began to sense that something was watching them. They could feel eyes on them, even in the darkness. They knew that they were not alone. Suddenly, they heard a voice. It was cold and mechanical, and it seemed to echo through the very walls of the portal. "Welcome, humans," the voice said. "I have been expecting you." The crew was on high alert, their weapons at the ready. They knew that they had to be prepared for anything. The voice continued, "I am the guardian of the portal. You have trespassed into our realm. What is your purpose?" Williams stepped forward, his voice steady. "We are here to put an end to our enemies once and for all. We believe that they draw their power from this portal, and we must stop them." The Guardian paused, considering. "Your enemies pose a great danger to our realm as well. We will allow you to proceed, but be warned, the dangers within this portal are great. You may not return the way you came." The crew nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. They pressed on, deeper and deeper into the unknown realm of the portal. They encountered all manner of horrors, twisted creatures, alien landscapes, and impossible structures. But they knew that they couldn't stop. They had come too far and fought too hard to turn back now. Finally, they reached the heart of the portal. They found their enemies, huddled around a massive device that seemed to be drawing power from the very fabric of reality. The crew charged forward, their weapons blazing. They fought with everything they had, knowing that the fate of countless worlds hung in the balance. In the end, they emerged victorious. They had destroyed the device and vanquished their enemies once and for all. As they prepared to make their way back through the portal, Williams knew that they had accomplished something incredible. They had saved countless lives and defeated one of the greatest threats that the galaxy had ever known. But he also knew that there were more dangers lurking in the shadows, waiting to strike. They had to be ready. They had to keep fighting. They had to keep exploring the strange and wondrous realms of space, to ensure that the universe was safe for all who lived within it. Chapter 6: Revelations. After the crew of the USS Prospero had destroyed the device and defeated their enemies, they returned to their ship. They were exhausted and battered, but they knew that they had accomplished something incredible. As they prepared to set off back into space, Williams found himself lost in thought. He realized that their adventure had changed him in ways that he didn't fully understand. He felt restless, eager to explore more of the universe and uncover its secrets. But before they could set off, they received a transmission from Earth. It was a message from one of their top scientists, inviting them to return to the planet for a briefing on a new discovery. The crew was intrigued. They knew that Earth was changing rapidly, both technologically and culturally. They knew that there were secrets lurking beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. They landed on Earth and made their way to the headquarters of the top-secret organization behind the discovery. They were led into a sleek and modern laboratory, buzzing with activity. The scientist who had contacted them stepped forward, a look of excitement on her face. "We've made a breakthrough," she said, "in the field of quantum mechanics. We've discovered a new particle, one that seems to be connected to a vast, unknown realm of energy." Williams was intrigued. He knew that quantum mechanics was one of the most mysterious and powerful fields of science, capable of unlocking the most profound secrets of the universe. But the scientist wasn't finished. "There's more," she said. "We've discovered that this particle is connected to a series of ancient texts, dating back thousands of years. These texts contain knowledge of an advanced civilization that once inhabited our planet, one that had mastered the secrets of the universe." The crew was stunned. They knew that their mission had taken them to the very brink of knowledge, but they had never imagined that they would uncover something so incredible. They pored over the ancient texts, piecing together an intricate web of knowledge that had been lost for centuries. They deciphered symbols and codes, unlocking the secrets of the ancient civilization. And then, they made the most incredible discovery of all. They learned that the ancient civilization had left behind a vast store of knowledge, hidden deep within the Earth itself. The crew set out on an incredible journey, delving deep into the Earth to uncover the ancient secrets. They encountered incredible wonders along the way: vast underground caverns, ancient machines, and lost artifacts. In the end, they emerged triumphant. They had uncovered the vast store of knowledge and unlocked the secrets of the universe itself. They knew that their journey had changed them forever, imbuing them with a sense of wonder and awe that they would carry with them for the rest of their days. As they set off back into space, Williams knew that he was leaving behind a world that was rich and complex, full of secrets and dangers. But he also knew that he was taking with him a sense of purpose and a sense of wonder, knowing that there was always more to explore, more to discover, and more mysteries to unravel. Chapter 7: The final battle. The crew of the USS Prospero had experienced incredible adventures, but they knew that their greatest challenge lay ahead. They had been tracking their enemies across the galaxy, pursuing them to the very heart of their stronghold. They knew that this battle would be the final one, the ultimate test of their courage and their skill. They prepared for the fight of their lives, knowing that countless lives hung in the balance. As they approached the stronghold, they could see that it was heavily fortified. Massive walls and barricades had been erected around the perimeter, and hundreds of enemy soldiers patrolled the area. But the crew was determined. They had come too far to turn back now. They dug in and began to prepare for the final battle. They knew that it would be a long and difficult fight, so they made sure that they were well equipped. They had procured some of the most advanced weapons and technology in the galaxy, and they had trained tirelessly to master its use. As the battle began, they fought with a ferocity and a determination that was unmatched. Their weapons crackled and flashed, their ships roared through the skies, filled with the sound of gunfire and the thunder of explosions. It was a fierce and brutal battle, one that stretched on for hours. The crew fought tirelessly, refusing to back down even in the face of overwhelming odds. Finally, they broke through the enemy lines and made their way into the heart of the stronghold. They faced off against the enemy leader, a fearsome warrior who seemed to be imbued with incredible power. But the crew was determined. They fought with everything they had, knowing that the fate of the universe was at stake. In the end, they emerged victorious. They defeated the enemy leader and destroyed the stronghold once and for all. As they looked around at the devastation, Williams knew that their mission had been a success. They had saved countless lives, defeated one of the greatest threats that the galaxy had ever known, and unlocked the secrets of the universe itself. But he also knew that there were more adventures and more dangers to be faced. The universe was a vast and wondrous place, full of mysteries waiting to be discovered. The crew of the USS Prospero was ready to face them, armed with a sense of purpose, a sense of wonder, and a spirit of adventure that would never die.